So, Mike, we're getting ready for 2021. We're focused on the advanced TV world that's emerging. And I was wondering, from your standpoint, what's exciting in terms of innovation and investment in the new year around addressable programmatic opportunities around OTT? Where,
Yeah.
where are things headed?
Well, first off, I can't believe it's almost 2021. Feels like we just started 2020. But I think, what is exciting about going into next year is really the scale and the pace at which things have changed over the past 9 months. I think, obviously COVID accelerated a lot of the ways that we needed to buy media across all channels. But in particular, in the connected space, as we saw more and more consumers moving to streaming, it really highlighted it for ad buyers, ad sellers, and for our clients to see what that change looked like. So I think going into next year, the hopes of scaled connected TV buying, the growth of addressable TV, the ability to continue to use better data to target linear television. These are things that we've been trying to do and wanting to do over the past few years, but there's no better time than 2021. With TV ratings continuing to decline, we need to think of ways to be more effective with our buys. We talked so much about efficiency, but I think we really need to start talking about effectiveness and business outcomes and making sure that the money that we're spending across all of these video channels is really helping our clients drive their business forward. And that comes with some challenges because TV in its kind of natural state has worked so well for so long. But as consumers have more and more options and everything is on demand, and even we're seeing now content moving from platform to platform, I do think it's really critical that we start to innovate the way that we go to market and that we continue to innovate the way that we trade in terms of currencies available in the market. But I think, it's a bit of an open book, and I think we've got sellers, buyers, and clients all really excited and energized to change the way that we do things going into 2021.
Now, Mike, at the Dentsu family, you guys have some pretty deep data tools, platforms, and Merkle and M1 and so forth. Could you just explain a little bit about how data is empowering both your investment and around performance?
Yeah, I think, the data that we're bringing to the, I guess if you want to call it a party, the data that we're bringing to the conversation through M1 connected with some of our biggest partners is not only having an impact on the actual buy and execution and the back end measurement, but we're using it all the way at the beginning in the strategy and the planning process. So as we think about identifying who that core audience is, who's that audience that can drive business forward the most for our clients, we're integrating that into our media plans. We're able to take that and match it against data from our media owners and make sure that we're optimizing our schedules in order to deliver the most amount of value into those schedules.
Now, Mike, let's talk about addressability, addressable TV. We've spoken about it, of course, over the years. How do you see the state of addressability around TV, kind of how you define it, what you want? And then there's also the prospect of national enablement of national linear TV becoming addressable, which is another aspect.
Mhm.
If you put into focus, please, your views on addressable TV.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that we've seen as the rise of, I guess maybe social media over the past 12 months, 2 years, when you start to see the personalization of those ads and how impactful they are. We've all been there as you're scrolling through Instagram, maybe too far sometimes, but we've all been there before where we start to see that and automatically that ad becomes more impactful, more real to you. So I think as we think about the biggest screen that exists, the television screen and the video screen, our ability to break through advertising clutter in order to deliver a relevant ad, so the right ad at the right time to the right person, is only going to make advertising that much more impactful. So the next step in being able to do that is to scale. We've been working in addressable TV for probably more than 5 years at this point, and we always saw great success in local markets, or starting to expand that into regional markets, or do some of it in connected TV as it was growing. But the ability to start to think about it on a national platform, I think we've got a road in front of us. I don't think tomorrow every ad that's on national TV is going to be in the addressable form, but I think we've got windows of opportunity in the next 12 months to really scale addressable TV. And for me, I always think about it from a consumer perspective. If we can create a better customer experience, if people are watching and they see an ad that's relevant to them, this has always been our goal, but now we have the data and the platforms to do that even better. Since so much of today's media ecosystem sits on a digital platform, our ability to deliver them real ads are really impactful ads that work for them, I think will create a much better consumer experience, which in turn will create much better business outcomes.
So to make that all happen, you need the cooperation and innovation of the sell side. If you had a message to the sellers, to the publishers, to the broadcasters, what would that be?
I would say simplification. I think that's a place that we're all sitting right now. Is there are so many great options that exist inside the marketplace, and I think for buyers and for clients to begin to digest that and figure out how do we actually attack this marketplace, and ultimately keeping, as I talked about before, keeping that consumer in mind. How do we put them first to make sure that we're creating a great experience for them? So I think simplification. I think the other thing is results. Help us understand how those changes are helping different categories and helping the industry as a whole move forward. One of the things that I think has made it really hard to move away from traditional linear TV, and we continue to see investment in that space, is it works, right? We've seen so many studies over time that the contribution to volume when buying linear TV is so great for these big advertisers. It really works. Or the work that the VAB's done that shows what DTC brands, when they come on TV. So we know linear TV works, and sometimes that's a really hard thing to break away from. So I think working with our partners, we need to be able to see those results and start to see them scale over time. That you're trading one thing for another thing, and what you're trading is actually going to make things more efficient and more effective moving forward, in order to break the cycle that we've been in.
And finally, Mike, I wanted to ask you about some thoughts about the year ahead. It's been a crazy year. A lot has been accelerated through COVID, and we don't know exactly where it's going to go. But in terms of where you sit, changes that you've seen, the acceleration of our industry, what are some big trends you might see going into the new year?
Yeah, I mean, it's after last year making some predictions that we all thought would seem doable, and then COVID came. So I think we have to be ready for anything. But I think the biggest thing on my side would just be, as we think about our teams and the way that we think about going to market, we have to be much more nimble. I think we have to be much more aggressive in the way that we do things. I think we need to be a little riskier. And I think we need to prepare our teams for that. We have traditionally, agency side, even client side and sell side, built ourselves into these silos of whether it be broadcast day parts or channels between connected TV and addressable and linear and nonlinear. I think we need to create an ecosystem where we can be much more nimble. So if I had one goal for 2021, it would be creating an ecosystem where people are interoperable, are able to think about media more holistically. And as we talk about, just having a media buyer, if you get $1, you can spend it in the most effective way possible, not that you need to keep it in the channel that you're responsible for. So I think we just need to continue to leverage our subject matter experts in terms of the structure and kind of the framework for different channels, but make sure that our teams and our clients and our sellers are coming to market more holistically in order to take advantage of everything that exists in the marketplace.